Hi, everybody. Shane Willard here. Thanks for joining us. Now, we've been in a series called Blessed, where we're examining the way of Jesus. And the idea is that for most of us, we have put our trust in Jesus for like our eternal salvation. Our challenge in this is, have we actually said yes to his invitation to live a certain way in this world in order to bring heaven here? Do we really trust that the poor in spirit are blessed? Do we really trust that mourning with others is the way to go? Do we really trust that hungering and thirsting after righteousness? Do we really trust that humility is the way to go? How seriously do we take light and salt in our calling to be known for our demonstration of love instead of an announcement of everything? And so what I want to do in this last session is I want to continue on from where we stopped last session and invite us to examine two of Jesus's statements from the wisdom literature. The two statements are, blessed are those that mourn, they'll be comforted. Blessed are the merciful, for they'll obtain mercy. The idea is that if you're mourning, if you're in suffering, you do not have a faith problem. Suffering is not something to figure out. It's not about asking why. It's about being able to express how. So if you're mourning or trying to comfort those that mourn, if we're making it about the why question instead of the how question, that's a whole nother thing. Mercy, if you need mercy, or if you're someone who's in the position to provide the mercy. Well, that's a really important thing. And so I want to go back to the book of Lamentations, and I want to look at the role that just simply being empathetic without coming in with all the answers, how being empathetic creates space for God to do something in terms of healing in somebody. So remember, Lamentations are five poems that, God is silent in. You have a narrator, you have a woman, and you have a man. The narrator is just a fact teller. The woman is the humanization of the city that's being raped to death. It's just a terrible sort of thing. And then the man, of course, is the humanization of the priestly system, which they would have been castrated. A lot of them, they would have lost the temple in a horrible way. There's all of this. And so this book's been written by Jeremiah, and he's trying to put language in poetry. Well, why? Because sometimes when you're talking about great suffering, poetic language is all that really can, like just being literal, just always falls short. And so the poems start with this narrator just going for it. God gave you over to your enemies. You committed adultery. Don't act like you didn't. It's the multitude of your transgressions. You mistreated the poor. You caused tyranny. You did this, and now it's coming on you. And he says something quite dirty, actually. In like verse 8 or 9, he says, don't act like you didn't commit adultery. Your uncleanness is up your skirt. Yeesh. What a horrible way to say that. That's like out there and blunt. Hey, don't act like you didn't do it. Check your skirt. Your uncleanness is up your skirt. I mean, telling someone they have like a dirty lady part, that is out there. And that's how we sound when we just come in with the facts, rush in with all the explanations. We just sound like, man, don't act like you're not guilty. Your uncleanness is up your skirt. And then the lady shows up. and I'm not going to read all of what she says, but I'm just going to point out some of it. Several different places, she just says in verse 9, chapter 1, look, I'm afflicted. Verse 11, look, I'm despised. Verse 12, look and see my pain. Verse 18, look at my suffering. Verse 20, look, see how distressed I am. In pain, we normally aren't looking for answers. Not normally. If you're the one mourning, you're not looking for the one comforting you. You come rushing in with all the answers. Now, there might come a point where you ask their advice, or you say, hey, what do you see here? How can I make this better? That can and often will come if your relationship's good enough, but not at first. We're not normally looking for answers. We want someone to notice, to identify with it, to at least take the time to look. The word for that would be empathy, acknowledgement. Me too. I see you. I get it. Words like this. We want someone to bear witness to our pain, not just explain it. Let's say it this way. We want someone to agree, This isn't right. This is unjust. This is unfair. We don't want someone just rushing in and explaining everything. We want someone identifying it with us. We want someone going, yep, I get it. This isn't right. This is unjust. This is unfair. I see what you're saying. There's this space that empathy creates instead of this expert coming in with all the answers, and it shuts that space down. Let's say it this way. There's disorientation in the pain. The way things worked aren't working anymore. So you've set yourself on a path, and it was working for a while, and now that path obviously isn't working. And so there's a moment or season of disorientation. It doesn't mean you have a faith problem. It just means, man, the way I've been doing it and the way that was working isn't working anymore. And so there's this kind of spinny feeling like, look at this. And then our inner dialogue goes off. And it says this: is this situation crazy, or am I crazy? That's two different things. Like if you're in a situation that's crazy, that's one thing. If you're crazy, that's another. And so our inner dialogue starts playing this mind. And then there's often our running commentary on the trauma is worse than the trauma itself. That's true too. It's called catastrophization. We catastrophize the situation. Or what we do is we take something that's this big and then we play it out in consequence all the way to its furthest hyperbolic extreme. And before we know it, this has become that. Or as the old saying goes, you made a mountain out of a molehill. That's just catastrophization. Like we're looking at something that has this much drama, but we're making this much stuff. It's kind of like this. Have you ever let something that costs $300 take up $3,000 of mental space? That happens in pain. Like as a very innocuous example, the other day, I have these Bose in-ear earpiece things that hook to my phone. I can use it as my phone or headphones or whatever. And they're small. They're like, they're small, and then the case that they come in is even smaller. And I used it. I talked to a friend of mine, pastor from the Sunshine Coast, for about an hour. And when I finished, I put it back in its case. I never moved space. I didn't leave the house. But when I left later, I needed them and I couldn't find them anywhere. And I don't know, it probably cost me $300 to replace them. But boy, I was just irritated that how did I lose this? And I was like, man. And then I just told myself, well, just go buy new ones. That's fine. It's not that big of a deal. But no. I lost them. And then it was a full day later, a little bit more than a day later, maybe 30 hours later, I was setting up my resource table, a place I was speaking, and that little Bose thing was inside the packet where my FPOS machine is. And I remember what I did. I had so much in my hands that I just threw it in that bag because it was one less thing for me to carry. But in that 24-hour period of time, that $300 thing was taking up more than $300 of headspace in my mind. Now, that's a very innocuous example for when something doesn't go right, and then we let this create this much space inside of ourselves. Sometimes our running commentary or our imagination about where the trauma will go is actually worse than the trauma itself. Here is a couple of reference points for how we'll deal with this. How we'll either be great mourners or great comforters to those who mourn. How we'll be great merciful people or people who need mercy. Is there someone around us that we trust? And I mean really trust. Like someone that you just know would never hurt you. Someone you could be your full self around. Someone that you can share your darkness before you do it and they don't hurt you for it. Someone that can celebrate your wins. That's another one too. Someone we trust. Number 2, do you have a community of need meeting around you? All of us need some sort of community of need meeting. For most of us, that we'll find that in our church, but some of us, the church, we just, for whatever reason, it doesn't do that. But something around us has to function as a community of need meeting. And number 3 is, how's our basic functioning, right? So let's ask those 3 questions. I realize I'm putting on a big psychology hat here, but I need to. This is part of it. It's part of Jesus's way that he's invited us to live is to be good at mourning and to be good at comforting mourners, to be good at mercy giving and to be good at needing mercy. And this is part of it. But when you're going through something, and you will, it is who's the person you trust? And I'm not talking about like the person you necessarily have the most fun with. I mean, the person that you know de-escalates the environment, that brings peace to the situation, that is honest, has integrity, wouldn't hurt you, wouldn't violate your confidence. Someone we trust. Who's your community of need meeting? And how is your basic functioning? How are you doing at a basic functioning level? Because when we lose these things, it's very disorientating. Here is the narrator. So the narrator, this is hard to see because it's a full chapter later. He starts out with, your uncleanness is up your skirt. A full chapter later, after just taking the time to notice the pain, he changes his tone quite a bit. Here's what he says. What can I say for you? To what can I compare you, O daughter of Jerusalem? What can I liken you to, that I may comfort you, O virgin daughter? For your ruin is as vast as the sea. Who can heal you? So the narrator finally addresses the one in pain with empathy. Instead of your uncleanness is up your skirt, he changes to, how can I restore comfort to you, O virgin daughter? And this is a big lesson from the wisdom literature, and I think, and from psychology, and from Jesus's invitation on how to live, and that is this. There's a way you can tell the truth, and it sounds like your uncleanness is up your skirt. There's a way you could tell the same truth with the heart of, how can I restore comfort to you, O virgin daughter? The word for that is mercy, mourning, empathy. The narrator empathizes with the woman by citing the pain with a huge metaphor. Your ruin is as vast as the sea. Well, that's a hyperbolic metaphor. The universal question that we all ask is any suffering as bad as my suffering? Is anybody suffering as bad as I am right now? That's what happens when we suffer. Like people say, get over it, man. It's just a back. It's just a pain back. Well, pain in the back. Well, it's just a pain in the back unless it's your back. And then it's the most important back on earth. Oh, come on. It's just a little kink in the neck. Yeah, true. Unless it's your neck. And if it's your neck, it's the most important neck on the planet. See, when we are criticized and a friend laughs it off because it's ridiculous, it's like, yeah, but that wasn't said about you. It was said about me. This has happened to me a few times in my life where someone has criticized me in writing, and it knocks you around a little bit. Like you be kind of a sociopath to go, I don't care about any of it. Of course, if you read it and you know about it, you kind of care. And then the people closest to me are like, Shane, that's ridiculous. Don't let that bother you. Yeah, I get it. And they're right. I shouldn't let it bother me. But at the end of the day, that was said about you, not them. It's just a back unless it's your back. It's just a throat unless it's your throat. It's just a neck unless it's your neck. It's just a cold unless it's your cold. It's just a criticism unless you're the one being criticized. In this part of the poem, the narrator finally identifies with the pain, not with answers, but with looking, seeing, listening, empathy, identifying with the pain. See, none of us can handle the 7 steps to freedom if we're still in shock. Here's the 7 things you do to get out of it. No. First thing we got to do is realize we're in shock and have somebody empathize with the injustice of it. Empathize with the pain of it. Actually resist the urge to rush in with the why question, but rush in with the, hey, let's take a second and express how. Let's take a second and mourn and grieve how. Let's lament a bit. Let's call it out. Let's say it what it is. Let's call out the thing that's keeping us from thriving. Let's do that. I love this quote by Peter Rollins. He's an Irish philosopher, pastor guy. He says, contrary to what some people think, the key to easing people's suffering is not by offering some insidious theodicy. Theodicy is just, well, God's the answer to everything, or God's in charge, he must have his reasons, or those kind of answers. So contrary to what people think, The key to easing people's suffering is not by offering some insidious theodicy, but in allowing a place for people to mourn and meet others who know what it is to have been burnt by that black sun. This is not about providing an answer, rather offering a site where we can speak our suffering. Such spaces are a site of liberation and light. Peter Rollins. Said another way, blessed are those that mourn, they'll be comforted. Blessed are the merciful, for they'll obtain mercy. That when we know how to mourn right, and we know how to comfort those who mourn correctly, that actually becomes a place of liberation and light without the theodicy, without all the answers to why. Now, what do we do with this? Let's apply this a couple ways. One, there's a difference between acceptance and understanding. If you remove understanding from acceptance, you taint the acceptance. So to the level we remove understanding from our acceptance of a person, we then taint it. Like, you imagine saying to someone you love, let's say you said it to your wife, I fully accept you, but I don't understand a word coming out of your mouth. Well, that's going to taint the acceptance. This is one of the issues with the racial issues in America. It's not the racists, although they surely are there. It's people like me who weren't racist. Like, I fully accepted people of color until I realized that I had not taken the time to understand their stories. And when I don't take the time to understand what it was like to be them, then I can't fully accept them without the acceptance being tainted by a lack of understanding. What this story is showing us from a long time ago in wisdom literature is that until you take a moment to try to fully understand the story, your acceptance means less. Empathy creates that space. Sometimes we just need someone to really see how unjust it was, to say, yeah, no, that was unjust. Sometimes we need someone to affirm the wound is actually as vast as the sea. We need someone to affirm that. One of our key problems in culture is that not enough people have seen the pain of the other. My friend, African-American friend, really, he wasn't confronting me. I was asking him about something to do with racial relations, and what I said made it obvious to him that I didn't know certain stories. And because I didn't know those certain stories, there was a lack of context for whatever he was going to say. And he lovingly, in the most loving way possible, he asked me to go learn a few stories around this area. And when I came back to him, I told him how much he helped me see. Because what I realized is I had fallen into the trap of trying to explain why and then fix it without giving people the space to scream how, and without doing everything I could to understand the plight of the story. We need a commitment to see, to take a second, even if we think we have the answer, to understand how it got there, to understand how they see it, what's their point of view in it. It's a space empathy creates that nothing else can create. It's a yes to an invitation of Jesus to see that actually happiness isn't rushing in with all the answers all the time. It's actually it's mourning sometimes, and sometimes it's comforting mourner. Sometimes it's being the mercy giver. Sometimes it's graciously being the person who needs the mercy. When hearing someone, try to bear witness to the pain first. This is Psychology 101. My master's is in clinical psychology. When I was in my practicum, one of the first things they correct you on is you rushed in too quickly with the answer. But it was obvious. Yeah, it was. But they don't know that you've identified with their story yet. And this is like just basic. When hearing someone, try to bear witness to the pain first. Can we engage the pain with our presence before we fix it? Can we engage their pain with our presence before we fix it, with our parents, our wives, our children, our co-workers, whoever it might be? Here's the narrator. Jerusalem sinned grievously. Therefore she became filthy. All who honored her despise her, for they have seen her nakedness. Her city groans. She herself groans and turns her face away. Her uncleanness was up her skirt. She took no thought of her future, like she lacked all this foresight. Therefore her fall was terrible. She has no comforter. She has nothing. Wow. Like just rushing in with all the answers. And the truth of it is that in Jewish history, there was a lot of truth to what the narrator's saying there. But when you just rush in with the answers, man, that's when the lady speaks up. Oh Lord, behold my affliction. The enemy has triumphed. Her first words are not, tell me the answer. She likely knows the answer. Most people don't need us to help us figure out why something's not so good. If they're honest and introspective and all intelligent, they can kind of figure out, okay, I can see that. It's actually, they want us to behold it. Look at my affliction. The enemy has triumphed. See, the filth clinging to her skirts is an ancient metaphor for adultery. The narrator accuses the city of marital unfaithfulness because they had two thoughts on their origins. The Israelite tribe had two different concepts on origin. One, we're to be a different tribe from the other tribes. We will resist destroying others and live to bless others. We'll leave the corners for the poor. We'll care for the poor and the foreigner. We don't ignore the cry. We hear it. That's one thing that would have set them apart from everybody else. Is we don't just take care of our own. We live to bless the world. But the second thing that on their origin was they found their establishment on a marriage relationship with God. And both those things are very good ideas. But a lot of ideas take a long time to catch on. This is why a lot of the metaphors, Hosea preaches a whole sermon where he marries a lady who goes back to harlotry and he keeps buying her back. And the sermon is, your lack of faithfulness does not compromise mine. I will always keep my promise to you. So the whole 10 Commandments is a marriage proposal, which if you're interested, there is a series on our web streaming app or in our online store on the 10 Commandments. And it's that. So this is drawing on that. It's like, of course you've been left desolate. Hey, how were all those lovers, bro? Hey, how'd that go? Hey, all those people who promised. Hey, all those people who just used you. Where are they now? They're nowhere. They're nowhere. It's that kind of thing. Your uncleanness is up your skirt. They were called to be nonviolent, generous blessers of people. Yet their history was forcing new slaves to build the temple to honor the God who frees the slaves and arms dealing. The Bible shows us our patterns in life. Will we get stuck in our old patterns or choose to live a better calling? What happened in Jewish history is they were called to be a different sort of people, a different sort of tribe, showing their relationship with God, not with announcement, with demonstration. What they found was that they defaulted back to slavery, tyranny, misuse of power, abuse, and war. And it bit them. It bit them. And again, we read the Bible and read ourselves in as the good guys, but oftentimes we're the ones that wouldn't get it either. See, they saw themselves established in marriage relationship with God. Like the first word, no other gods, no other lovers. The nation was supposed to show the world a new way of what it would look like to be human. What a great idea. What a great idea. The prophets used the adultery image to illustrate unfaithfulness to the call and the covenant. If she is indifferent to the suffering and injustice in her midst, she will suffer. That is the idea. Look, God rescued you out to be a certain type of people. When you ignore it, you will oftentimes suffer. Just a couple of quick things here to bring this series to a close. Sometimes we suffer, and it's not a direct reflection on what we've done. That's true. It's someone else's will or natural law or an accident. Sometimes we suffer, and if we're honest, we were warned about non-consent to wisdom a long time ago. Both those things are true. And in both instances, we need to mourn, asking how, not necessarily why. Or we need to comfort the mourner, asking how, not necessarily why. A couple thoughts on this to close our series out. Blessed are those that mourn. They'll be comforted. Blessed are the merciful. They'll obtain mercy. Is there anything in this process that I need to own? To the level I blame is the level I disempower myself from change. Is there anything in this process I actually need to own and say, you know what, no, that was my fault. My fault. 2, was I warned and didn't consent to wisdom or love? Did I resist? Was I rebellious? Number 3, where do I need to take responsibility, learn, and live? Number 4, am I blaming? Am I disempowering myself by blaming? What can I say for you? To what can I compare you, O daughter Jerusalem? How can I comfort you, O virgin daughter? The narrator moves from seeing her as an adulterer whose skirts are vile to a virgin. The question is, does the shame or season defile us permanently? Or can we begin again? Can we be cleansed and start over again? I want to encourage you that your suffering is not a testament to your lack of faith. It could be your fault. It might not be. But that's not the question. The question is, can you express how in a healthy way, showing empathy to those that need it, to create enough space for a breakthrough so that death doesn't get the last word. It only gets a word. Can you begin again? Are you going to be defined by this, or are you going to move forward and actually live? How do we use our words to speak newness over people? Do we speak the truth with the tone of, your uncleanness is up your skirt? Or do we speak the truth with the tone of, how can I restore comfort to you, O virgin daughter, affirming who they are, not defining them by what they did? We need a reminder that this season is not the last word about it. Not. Do we see ourselves so firmly identified with the shame that we can't see a way out? Is that you? Do you need some comfort today? Once the narrator sees her heart and perspective, he actually begins to encourage her, and the tone changes. So, my brothers and sisters, it's been quite a journey. Blessed the way of Jesus. May we not just trust Jesus with our eternal salvation, but with how to see the world. Embrace humility, embrace meekness, embrace intentionally entering into good things for others, not just simply abstaining from bad things. Embrace your role as light by your good works of demonstration, not by your announcements of what we believe. May we be the picture of what it looks like to be fully aware of our redemption, being invited to a table by a king to give us bread. May we be those people who master the art of accepting a person without affirming everything about that person. May we be good at mourning and with comforting those that mourn. May we never rush in with the answers to all the why questions. Rather, may we give people the freedom to express how and find a place of liberation and freedom and fresh starts and second chances, a new life and an opportunity to write a better story. May we engage in the Jesus way of life and the wisdom way of life by giving people a space that only empathy creates. May we tell the truth, but never with the tone of, your uncleanness is up your skirt, but always with the tone of, how can I restore comfort to you, O virgin daughter? Let's go show the world what that life looks like. Grace and peace, everybody.